lot of the export control matters have some type of data protection or privacy element to them. If you look at, just trying to understand what data is export controlled. We have all this data out there. Not everything is going to be export control data, right? So we have to decide, what is the export control data? What type of access controls are you going to put in place? Who's going to have access to it? How do you know, do that like at a global company, right? And I've worked at a lot of different companies and they all have different strategies for doing that. And then it's also that compliance piece of training people and making sure that people understand, if something is marked export control or something is marked something else, what does that mean and how are they supposed to handle it? And if there is a potential issue, who do they go to in case, there is an issue or something got released to somebody inadvertently? How do we report that? But then also with export controls, because things change so much, there are these restricted party lists, and different governments and different entities have their version of these lists. And they could be individuals and they could be companies. And that's constantly changing. Sometimes people get added to the list, sometimes people fall off the list, right? And you have to screen for them. And there are tools out there in the marketplace that can be used to screen because you want to automate this because it's just a lot of information. But the data protection piece comes into play because when you're talking about individuals and you're trying to screen, what if you have like a John Smith, right? That's a very common name, so which John Smith are we talking about? We may need another piece of information. We may need their middle name. We may need their birth date. Now we're talking about, the privacy information. We're talking about somebody's personal identifying information, their PII. So oftentimes, I am working with our data protection and privacy colleagues to just make sure that, there is a legal reason why I need to ask for this information. There's a legitimate reason to know, and then obtain that person's consent. Can you give us this information? And this is why we need it.